The build show today, 4 generator tips to prepare for an emergency. Not a sponsored video, but in full disclosure, Champion has sponsored a bunch of videos for me. Today's build show, be prepared. Let's get going. I'm not sure I would quite call myself a prepper, but I sure like being a hero dad and a husband that gets it done. So let's talk about preparation for hurricane season, for power outages, whatever. Having a mid-sized or even a small generator can be a big deal in the house, but here's 4 tips to make the most of one of these units. This happens to be the 4650 watt dual fuel from Champion. Tip number 1, gas storage. I carry at least 20 gallons in my strategic petroleum reserve. That means I can put 10 in my car and 10 in a generator. Ideally, you probably want more like 30 gallons. Gas does go bad though, right? It's got a shelf life. So if you can, get ethanol free for sure. And if you can't get ethanol free, absolutely put a stabilizer. The other thing I always do is I use one of these Post-it extreme notes. I write the date that I got the gasoline on there. I store this in a shed away from my house, and then I flip that gasoline about every 6 months just to be safe. If you're using ethanol free, you probably don't need a stabilizer, but put it in anyways, no matter what you buy. Rotate it every 6 months. Next up, propane. I'm a big fan of dual fuel generators. I really think these are the way to go. They're not much more expensive. Champion in general, as I said, this is not a sponsored video by them, but I've had their equipment for years now. They've sponsored various videos for me. Very reliable and darned affordable. They really make a great value, plus some amazing features. Propane dual fuel, totally the way to go. Now, typical cylinders, let's talk about this. This is your 20-pound propane barbecue tank. 39 pounds when full. You know, pretty much anybody can lug around a 39-pound tank. 4.6 gallons. Now, if you look at the website for Champion, it's going to tell you that this unit, like in the first couple sentences, will run 14 hours on a tank of gasoline. That's good, a little bigger tank than some of them. But 21 hours on one of these propane cylinders. However, let's dig into the details. If you go into the actual specs, it doesn't tell you the exact gallons per hour use at full load. It only tells you quarter load. So gasoline runtime at a quarter load on their website, 14 hours on gas, 21 hours at 1/4 load. In general, I've found that during an outage, you're going to run higher than quarter load. A quarter load is idle with maybe your refrigerator plugged in. But if you've got bigger things going, you know, a sump pump, 2 refriges, you're charging your phone, you're at least at half load, those numbers are going to be cut down. And here's why I like propane is you can do bigger bottle sizes. Check this out. This is a 50-pound propane tank, so 2.5 times bigger. It's actually 90 pounds when full, so it's not light. You gotta have some muscle to move this thing around. And then this is going to hold 11.8 gallons, according to the web, of fuel when it's all done. So here we've got, you know, probably at least 24 hours worth of generator fuel for this guy, even if we're at a higher load capacity. But you really want to be safe. These guys are the way to go. And in fact, I have a bunch of these stocked over here from my house. This is what they call a 100-pound propane tank. It's actually 165 pounds when full, so this is pretty beefy. I actually have my own cart for it to get these around. And this is going to hold 25 gallons. So if I was running this 4600 watt generator off this 100-pounder, I should be able to get 2 days, maybe even 3 days of continuous use, which means my family's going to be much safer in an outage. And my experience has been in Texas in the last just a hair over 2 years. We've had outages in Austin, Texas, where I am, of longer than 3 days twice now. In fact, some of my clients 2 years ago were out for 7 days. Of course, we can talk about Champion Standby, which I happen to have at my house. But this setup is going to get you a long ways towards making sure your family's safe. Okay, next up, tip number 3, flat cords. These are really handy. You know, obviously we're going to set up our generator outside. Never run it in a garage, never run it indoors. The carbon monoxide poisoning is a real thing. Have to run it outside. You also want to make sure you're at least 20 feet from anything operable, a window that opens, a door that opens. Champion and a bunch of other people make these flat cords. These are really nice. This one happens to go from a 30 amp to 30 amp 220 even to 110 outlets. And so now you've got a lot of power options for you. And it's flat, so you could close a door really easily and run this cord into the house either through a window and a door and still have pretty good weather stripping. You definitely want to have these. And then my fourth tip, be prepared for bad weather. A gen tent is a great way to go. They make them for smaller size generators, or I have a tri-fuel unit that has a gen tent that's awesome. You can run that thing in some crazy weather and be in really good shape with a gen tent. Or I've seen some people make some tilt wall shelters, just 4 2x4s, a piece of zip or OSB for a little mini roof, open air on all sides, and now you can keep the rain off this thing and make sure that you're still going to have power in your house in an outage. Guys, I'll put links to what we talked about. Like, I even bought these off of Amazon. Oh, I did want to mention, I forgot to say this. When you're running off a barbecue tank, the standard hose that you're going to run off of has a bigger connector, and these have a reverse thread smaller connector. So you're going to have to buy a conversion part if you're going to run bigger than a 20-pound tank on these. But other than that, it's really straightforward, really easy. Be prepared, my friends. When an outage comes, is not the time to be thinking about this. Now is the time before hurricane season starts in June. This is the time to be prepared. None of this is very expensive, but it's going to really get you through an outage and be a hero for your family. Guys, if you're not currently a subscriber, hit that subscribe button below. We've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow us on TikTok or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.